I wish it was Christmas today. I wish it was Christmas today. Every day's a Christmas day. Top 5 things, come what may. Reviews, movies, and festive cheer. Join the fun, Christmas is here. It's Christmas every day.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas. Welcome to Christmas Every Day. This is the podcast that keeps the spirit of Christmas alive all year long. And my name is Troy, and I am your host. Thank you so much for checking in with us. We really appreciate that. If this is your first time, please keep coming back. We're going to have a ton of new stuff, a ton of exciting stuff coming up over the next couple of months through the holiday season and then beyond. We hope you keep coming back. Look, I can't believe that I'm finally saying this, but I mean, it's officially October. I told y'all this. I said it was going to happen. Once we roll over into September, the months and the weeks or the days are just going to start flying by. And that's exactly what happened. It's already October 3rd, and the second best Burr month there is outside of December is underway. And I can't be happier about it. This is amazing. That's why this is going to be a special episode of Christmas Every Day. Now, we're celebrating October this week and Halloween, and we may have a few spooky surprises for you. We do have one listener email this week. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you guys for sending, your stuff in. Please send all of your emails into christmaseverydayshow@gmail.com. James writes in this week. He says, quote, "Happy holidays from Racine, Wisconsin. My daughter and I enjoy that you have a weekly show and want to know if you ever heard the Christmas Morning podcast. They also do a weekly show and their hosts are very funny and full of Christmas cheer. Also, I can't agree more that Christmas Medley by Neil Diamond is a terrible song." And it really is. "Keep up the Christmas cheer," end quote. James, thanks a ton for writing in. We really appreciate that so much. And yes, Christmas Medley by Neil Diamond is an abominable song. It never should have been written. It never should have been recorded. I don't know who's responsible for it. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And I'm also very familiar with the Christmas Morning podcast. They're one of my main inspirations for wanting to do, a podcast of my own. So shout out to Bran and Scott over at Christmas Morning. Love those guys. I also got an opportunity to listen to a few episodes of Deck the Hallmark in July, where Bran is also a co-host over there. And I found that thoroughly entertaining. So I'm going to give you the formula. You watch a Hallmark Christmas movie, and then you look up that movie's episode on Deck the Hallmark and listen to the episode. That's it. It's so entertaining. I spent hours doing that when they were showing their Christmas movies in July. Oh, it was so fun. Just great time. Also, don't forget to send your new, ish Christmas song recommendations to me at christmaseverydayshow@gmail.com. Excuse me. And I'll be doing reaction videos to your recommendations. My Christmas knowledge of new music is woefully inadequate, and so this is how I'm going to learn some new stuff. I'm doing Snowman by Sia next, and I'll let you all know when to expect that. Should be one day next week, I would think, on our YouTube channel, which is also Christmas Every Day. All right, well, I think we need to get to the countdown here.
Santa's coming to town! Santa! Oh my God! Santa here? I know him.
It is 83 days until Christmas. I called it. The time's just flying by. We just got about, just 2.5 more months to go? I can't be happier about it. Now, I haven't started shopping yet, and I need to get on the ball as far as that's concerned. And I also made a resolution this year that I'm going to mail out at least 15 Christmas cards over the holiday season. And I haven't started on my list for that yet either, so I'm slacking. I've just been a slacker. I need to get going on that. But it's also only 29 days till November 1st. Do you believe this? Now that's when all of the Halloween decorations need to disappear, and we just need to have Christmas decorations going up instead. But in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Halloween. Ah, yes, Halloween. Now, Halloween is my second favorite holiday behind Christmas. And in honor of it being October, I think Halloween deserves its own episode. So it definitely deserves a Christmas Everyday Halloween Character of the Week. But before I get to that, let me explain a little bit about why I like Halloween as much as I do. I've always liked really spooky stuff, not necessarily scary stuff to where I'm like screaming or, peeing myself. And I've never really been a big fan of gory type material, but spooky stuff, that's right up my alley. I love the idea of ghosts and spirits and haunted houses, and I'm just fascinated by graveyards and cemeteries. It's very calming to me, actually, to go walking through a cemetery and just wonder about the people who are buried there. The little city that I live in Tennessee called Gallatin, it has a town cemetery like many older southern cities do. And a lot of the street signs in the town are named after families who are buried there. And I just think that that's like one of the coolest things ever, that, they were prominent enough and they helped to shape the town enough so that they're remembered by having a street named after their family. I just think that's a very cool, respectful kind of thing to do. I also love creepy, like suspenseful movies that'll make you jump every once in a while, or especially if they have really visually appealing sets, like a foggy cemetery or an old Transylvanian castle. I love that stuff. One of my favorites has always been The House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price. And I just love this movie. I love a lot of his old movies, but this one's, I want to say it's just so bad that it's good, but it's not a bad movie. It's just, you have to watch it. But, you can't really beat old school, like black and white when it comes to scary movies. And that definitely does add a lot to that movie's appeal, but I love that movie. I also like spooky, music and ghost stories, which is probably why I like A Christmas Carol as much as I do. It sort of combines Christmas with Halloween, maybe better than The Nightmare Before Christmas does. Yeah, maybe not, but it's got ghosts in it. And of course, The Nightmare Before Christmas is totally another favorite of mine, as it is with most people who just love Christmas and even like Halloween a little bit. But one of my favorite ghost stories is There Was a Man Dwelt by a Churchyard by M.R. James. And it's quite possibly the best, like, super short ghost story that I've ever read. You can look that up on YouTube. There are a ton of videos of people reading it. And I've never read this story. I've always listened to it. I don't want to read it. I love to hear people reading it. So check it out. YouTube. It's called There Was a Man Dwelt by a Churchyard. And, also when it comes to Halloween, I'm old enough to have done a number of years of, proper trick-or-treating where, we had the plastic costumes and they had the matching masks or whatever. Or we had whatever, homemade costume that our mom put together for us. And, then we got dressed up after school, and if it was a school night, it didn't matter. If it was the weekend, it didn't matter. We went trick-or-treating on Halloween. And our parents got us dressed up, and then they just let us loose out on the neighborhood. They said, here, take this little bag and fill it up with candy and come on home when you get here. And it was just such a good time. It's different now with the trunk or treating, and, there's just not really much trick-or-treating going on anymore. That's a Halloween tradition that I thoroughly miss. But then when we outgrew trick-or-treating, we rolled people's houses. Now, for the uninitiated, that's when you take toilet paper and you throw it in people's trees. A lot of people call it different things. They'll say, oh, we toilet papered this old lady's house the other night, or we TP'd the house. Nope. It's called rolling in the South, and rolling it is. And, of course, who doesn't love just fall in general with the weather cooling and the leaves changing color? It's been fall for a couple of weeks now. Leaves are starting to change color a little bit, but it's like the attitude of the whole world just kind of changes. And, life is it's totally different than it had been just a couple of weeks ago. So it's just it's a whole new environment. It's like a whole new world. Yeah. What movie was that from? Anyway, oh, and you also can't forget, the iconic pumpkins that make their way out into the world. Although I could really do without all of the pumpkin spice products. They're just flooding my life right now. I was at a Publix the other day, and Dawn dishwashing liquid, it has a pumpkin spice scent now. And I was flummoxed when I saw that. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So anyway, I did a whole naughty list episode on pumpkin spice. So anyway, getting to the Halloween character of the week, my favorite Halloween character of all time from my favorite short story of all time is not really a Halloween character, but he's been very closely associated with Halloween for a lot of years now. The Christmas Everyday Halloween character of the week is none other than that famous Hessian from the Hudson River Valley himself. You know him as the Headless Horseman. Now, from Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman is the spirit of a Hessian trooper who is said to have had his head blown off by a cannonball in some nameless battle of the Revolutionary War. And he haunts the village of Sleepy Hollow, along with a few other spirits such as the Woman in White and Major Andre's ghost, and he moves about on horseback at night in search of his head. So the Headless Horseman is introduced to Ichabod Crane one night by the fireside as several of the village ladies were telling tales of the local legends. And so then, of course, Ichabod spends many walks home at night in just abject terror, jumping at every shadow or whippoorwill or what have you, just certain that some supernatural being was about to whisk him away. Now, the horseman is reported to frequent the area of a particular church where his headless body is buried. In the famous chase of Ichabod Crane near the end of the tale, the horseman runs Ichabod down on his way home from a party at the Van Tassel's house, and the horseman hurls his head at him, knocking him to the ground. Now, the next day at the scene, a shattered pumpkin is found on the ground, and Ichabod is basically heard of no more. Now, some of the locals will have it that the horseman finished Ichabod off, and others will have it that, Brom Bones might have been behind the deed. I think Washington Irving sort of hints at the end of the tale that that's the more likely of the two scenarios, but I don't think so. I believe in the Headless Horseman, and I think that he got Ichabod Crane. In any case, the Headless Horseman, he's just one of the more really menacing Halloween figures known to man. Being basically the poster child for a lot of colonial ghost stories. He was a very, very prominent figure in the colonial ghost stories after this came out, and it gained very wide acclaim. And there's also a good number of movie versions of the story as well, but the most widely known version, I would think, would be the 1949 animated Disney version, which was obviously narrated by Bing Crosby, and it featured what I think is the best chase scene on film between the very, very unfortunate Ichabod Crane and the Headless Hessian. Now, Tim Burton, who's a favorite of a whole lot of people who love Halloween and Christmas, Tim Burton released Sleepy Hollow in 1999, and he had Johnny Depp cast as the pedagogue Ichabod Crane. But that movie took a lot of liberties with the story that I don't think I really would have taken. It still turned out to be a good film. And the horseman character in the movie was just absolutely first rate. The special effects they did to create the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow from '99 from Tim Burton. Yeah, good call. Good call. And if you like audiobooks like I do, the Colonial Radio Theater did an amazing version of the story, which they released it was either 2005 or 2006. And to this day, it's still their best-selling dramatization. I really, really highly recommend checking that out from the Colonial Radio Theater. So let's all give it up for the Headless Horseman, who, in my opinion, he is just the ultimate scary spirit. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. I don't have a song for this week or a Christmas carol for the week. It would have been really... Halloween is just kind of sparse when it comes to popular Halloween songs. You could do Monster Mash or a couple of other ones. I decided against going with that, though. We're just going to leave it with the Headless Horseman. But we are out of here. It is October 3rd, 2025. Thank you so much again for checking in with us. Again, if you have any new Christmas music recommendations for me, please send those to christmaseverydayshow@gmail.com. And be on the lookout this coming Monday for a new episode of The Naughty List. And that's going to be a really good one too. And I think we're going to have some more Halloween stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks. So until next week, Merry Christmas.